Call the meeting back to order. And I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 10 a.m. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And Mark, just matters arising from closed session. We did have a discussion on a legal matter or legal questions on a bylaw that is be coming forward today. After closed session, we'll have that bylaw 26 on the be introduced as presented. And only those matters that were in closed session were the only matters discussed. Moving along, then, we have no public meetings this morning. And we move down then to the consent agenda. We have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that items A1 to C1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted. And further, that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Any questions on the consent? Don, Councillor Marshall?
Just, we're approving the RFP for the strategic planning, but Larry, you also have it in your report for discussion. Is that for discussion in your report, or?
Chair, sorry, beg your pardon?
Is that for discussion in your report, or are we?
That is correct. That's why I brought it here.
But we're the format of the RFP,
Yes.
and this here is about the funding for the RFP. Is that what this is in the consent agenda?
I apologize. Funding in the consent agenda?
Well, no, for the recommend the council pass a resolution in support of the recommendation of the committee of the whole, and the committee of the whole recommends that we go for RFPs for completion of the comprehensive strategic plan.
That's correct. So what I did, I said at the committee of the whole meeting last week, I would bring the RFP here so that council would understand what we're putting an RFP out for. The money for the for the strategic plan was actually incorporated in the 2015 budget, which you've approved. So that's why I brought it here, so you would know what the scope was that I'm proposing that the RFP be for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I apologize. I just misunderstood.
That's great. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion for consent? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. So I'll hand out those motions to have them take effect. There you are, Mark. All right. So I believe that future committee meetings brings us down to communications from Mayor and Council. So any of the councillors have anything at this point in time that they would like to communicate out there to the public that Adam can record for eternity? Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, just to remind everyone, tonight's the Chamber of Commerce AGM at the Homestead, so if anyone wishing to attend, get a hold of Nella or just show up and be appreciated. Pay your $10 for the meal. Exactly, so it's, thank you.
Anything else of any activities? Sorry, Adam? Don. Councillor Marshall.
Yes, I attended the OSAM conference in Belleville this past week. A lot of good conversation down there, a lot of stuff learned, I believe. Just a couple of highlights. Talked to a competitive insurance company that that's in the insuring business of the municipalities, and if we sort of give the impression that if we go out for tender next year, that they would be interested in giving us a quote. So that could be a sign of a good thing. I talked to another booth, and They are in the business of municipal policing consulting services. And I know we're going to get into our strategic planning and all that nice stuff, and I just would propose that we look closely at doing some kind of a study of our policing. They do everything from looking at the OBP to coming in and seeing if our police is doing the job that we're wanting them to do at the price we're paying. If there's anything that could be corrected that makes it better, and I think that that'd be a great thing. The waste management booth, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but they've got the waste management repository locations narrowed down to 9 now. There's 4 on the top of Lake Superior, Ignis, Manitouge, Hornpain, White River. There's 2 on the top of Lake Huron, Blind River and Elliott Lake. And then there's 3 just beside us here, Huron Kinloss, South Bruce, and Huron, or Central Huron, which is interesting to know if nobody's really been involved in the waste management proposal that they're going to put this repository. It is kind of interesting that they are planning for the next ice age. So it's it's kind of crazy that the last ice age had just disappeared here 10,000 years ago, and they have to put this thing 500 meters in the ground because Saugeen Shores and Aaron Elderslie was rejected because they believe that the shape of the rock up there, the ice age will take that skim off the top, and they want it down that deep to protect it from the possibility of being disturbed. So if, that's always interesting to hear about the future. We had a
tie in with global warming.
well, it's climate change. They picked a bad name when they call it global warming. Some places of the world will be heating up and others will be cooling off. Monica Turner, she's an employee at AMO. She ran a group that did a presentation on the fiscal responsibilities, staggering the number she came up with. So she sort of took the infrastructure deficit and threw all them same numbers back in the computer that we're dealing with for the last 5 or so years, and come up with a scary number of what our taxes are going to be like in the next 10 years. If we stay status quo, every year the taxes have to increase 19%. So if you are, your taxes are $3,000 today, in 2025 they'll be over $17,000 for most municipalities. So they're really trying to throw it out there, I believe, that there's going to be a huge problem coming up, and they want us to, instead of going to the cliff and dropping off, they want us to somehow in your strategic planning and all plannings to cut back on your services or revise your services, that you're doing stuff differently. So that was a huge talk. And I could tell when she was talking that she really took this personally. And the next conversation was about policing in Ontario. And AMO set up a task force, did a report, and they have 31 recommendations to make, and it's coming out on for the AMO watch file, I believe. But these 31 recommendations, he went through every recommendation, then the gentleman read the recommendation, then he did a 2 or 3 minute speech on every recommendation to sort of put out the gist of what it was meant to be. And I'm sure the mayor knows what the task force is called from the province that they're going to pass these recommendations on to. I forget that right now. Yep. So the recommendations are all very. They put a lot of time and effort into going out into the communities and figuring what they should be recommending. One that really stuck out in my mind was that every profession, nurses, doctors, teachers, they all spend their own money to go out and do the education, then they apply for a job. They said policing was the only one that first you find a job, and then the taxpayers pay for your education to go to Elmer to school to be a cop. And they're recommending that.
They don't, that's wrong.
They go to college.
It's covered by the employee. What happens is the reason that you think that, or they said that, is because it can be fronted to you by the company, but it's always paid back by the employee. So the employee still pays for their own education.
I might just add that it's a 2-year police foundation course it's 2-year police foundation course at Georgian or any of the other colleges as well.
But Elmer is paid. You pay your own. So that's incorrect.
So they don't, the police officer not hired, and then they go to Elmer?
Yes.
Yes.
There you
But,
go. That's
but,
what they-
but they pay for their own, they pay for their own education. They don't, the police don't pay for it. Public does not pay for that person to go to Elmer to become a police officer. That's incorrect.
We'll say that that's the way it is in West Grey, in the West Grey contract.
Yes.
We'll front end it for the individual because it's moved from $7,500 to $11,500 for that course. But West Grey in that contract, I'll say, has the funding for the individual, and then it's paid back
Through payroll.
over a 2-year period by them. One thing, Carol, to your point, just so it's clear, an individual does not have to have police foundations or any of that. You can, the requirement to be a police officer in Ontario is grade 12 education and completion of the Aylmer course. Most officers, and I'm going to say probably a percentage is 95%, will have post-secondary from a police foundations college course right through to a number of individuals that are hired these days have university education as well too. The level of education has increased dramatically from when Mr. Thompson started into the force a number of years ago. Yeah.
That was my point, Mr. Mayor. I think when any police department is doing interviews, I'm sure it has quite a weight if they've had the police foundation at the colleges. And most of them end up being police officers.
Sorry, Don, for that, but that, just clarify some of that. And the work that AMO is doing on the policing issue is tremendous, and look forward to that coming through FPAC and OEPSB as well, too, helping that out. Sorry to interrupt, but continue on.
Well, they're recommending that all police officers have post-secondary education. Yep. So,
Very good. Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Just a reminder that this Saturday, May 9th, I believe it is, that the West Grey is doing a sweep across the municipality, and hopefully people will get involved in that. I know Mr. Thompson and the ATV Club did some cleanup of the parks on Saturday in the West Grey area, but I'd just like to encourage people to get out and clean up their local areas, sign up through the office to let them know that you're going to take part, and we supply some garbage bags for people that want to do that. So it's a good time of year to get out and keep West Grey beautiful.
Thanks, Doug. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Thank you. I just want to report that the Newstead Recreation Committee had another successful spring craft show. We had about 475 in attendance and 83 vendors, so it was quite successful, even though it was a nice day. Also, you might say the opening of the Ayton washrooms and the new paint job in the hall was Saturday night. The Optimist had a murder mystery, a fundraiser, and everybody was very pleased and surprised, I guess, how the brightness and the convenience of the washrooms and the new look in the hall. And I just wanted to, I have to publicly compliment Tom Culleton and his staff, because it was one awful mess to clean up. The cement dust from cutting had totally gone through everything, everywhere in the arena. They had to vacuum all of the chairs, for instance, and wipe them off, wash all the dishes in the cupboards and wash out the cupboards and wipe all the it's even out on the seats in the arena. And they did it very quickly because they had this deadline of the murder mystery on Saturday night. So I just really have to compliment them publicly.
Very good.
Yeah, just,
Rob, you got something else?
Councillor Hutchison did note the ATV Club, West Grey did a part cleanup on Saturday, and the Queen Street Park area, the Memorial Grove on Lambton Street and the Rock Street Park, along with the cenotaph they took on this year, and met up in Benwick at the park up on Grey Road 3 and finished the cleanup there, and muchly appreciated the barbecue. So there was a good turnout, and the parks look pretty clean around now, so it was great again for this year.
Very good. Anything else? Yes, would like to compliment the ATV Club on theirs. I was able to stop in there on Saturday amongst a number of other activities between the craft show that I got to, and I think the Durham girls had a tea, as well as a number of other private items, issues I was dealing with as well too on Saturday. Got to those, so that was great. Didn't get to the murder mystery, as we had a family function to attend. But on Sunday I did get to the Grey Bruce Hospice Walk. We had a delegation here at our last, at the Committee of the Whole, to remind us of that. I was there between 1 and 2 o'clock, walked, and they had great participation. There was 7 around the area, and Hanover at 3 o'clock, or 2:30, give or take, they had already raised $15,000 for the Grey Bruce Hospice in Owen Sound, so that was very good. Did get to attend the OSM conference, and as Donna said, very good conference, always an excellent relative speaking points, presenters there, and picked up the trade show was very good. I couldn't stay as I had to be in London Thursday night for a meeting with the SWIFT. County Council has appointed myself to be one of the SWIFT Development Committee that's set up, SWIFT being the Southwest Integrated Fiber Technology. So we're moving forward with that, and hopefully in the next few years we can get to the last mile in southwestern Ontario, whether it's in Essex or whether it's in Tobermory or whether it's in Penetang Machine. It covers all of the Western Wardens areas, 14 counties, plus just bringing up to date, the region of Waterloo is incorporated into it as well too. And we're seeing that even the regional municipality of Niagara wants to join us as well too. So we're struggling on how to incorporate that as we go forward, hopefully getting the funding from the feds and the province for that very important infrastructure for our economic development, but just for life today as the way it is expected to be when we look at all the computers, laptops across here and the connectivity that we need. Was at the Durham Hospital Foundation AGM in the past week. I'm looking out at Jerry and thinking last Monday or Tuesday? Monday, wasn't it? I think it was Tuesday, yes. Anyways, last week they had a very good year again. Things are running very well there, and wanted to say to council that they were very appreciative of the financial support that council gives the foundation, and their Grape Escape function is one of their main fundraisers, so they're looking forward to having that. Interesting little tidbit, when I got to London for the SWIFT was at the Lamplighter Best Western, and there was a very big gala function going on. It was the London Health Sciences fundraiser that was going on. They do it just a little bit different. There was a silent auction with a number of vintage wines being offered for sale, and a few other things. Very black tie affair. Spoke to one of the individuals after our meeting, and theirs was the function was closing down, and I don't know whether the number would surprise you, but they'd raised just a little over $250,000 with the 2 hours that they had at the Lamplighter. So London Health Sciences is slightly bigger than the Durham Foundation, but in relationship, I think Durham does just as well too. So next year. That was interesting. 2 other things that have came to me, and I'll put this forward. The VON, their May 17th to the 23rd is VON week. Want us to do something with that, so we'll have that on the next council. And remembering Agnes McPhail, Women in Politics, Past and Present. There is a function on Tuesday, May 19th, 7 to 9 at Stone Tree Golf and Country Club, just south of Owen Sound. And that is open, so I'm going to give, the poster will be out on the board. Yeah, it is the night of our council meeting. But it's for the audience out there, Mark, not for the women that are in politics here in West Grey. They've still got a function. Carol?
Who's sponsoring that?
It's a non-for-profit group. I'll say yes. I'll just leave it at that. It is a partisan political group that is sponsoring it. What else? Oh, yes. And today, I want to make everybody does recognize what today is. It's National Star Wars Day.
National what?
Star Wars, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. May 4th. May the 4th be with you. So they have it on May 4th. And yeah, it's Larry's birthday. Oh, May the 4th be with you. Yes, okay, yeah, obviously I didn't make enough impact last year, so I'll say it again this year. Okay, any other communications? Very good. Let's get on with the project then. Down to more serious news and away from Star Wars. We do have a delegation this morning, and we've had her waiting here patiently. Surya Mellor is here and wants to talk about this Student Community Arts Project. So I'm going to turn it over to you. If you could use the podium. The microphone is there so that we can get that recorded. And I did say that right, didn't I? Surya? Surya. Yeah. Very good. There you are. Now it's live.
Great.
Everything you're saying now it will be recorded and used to benefit your project.
Okay, good.
Floor's yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Surya Mellor, and thank you so much for taking the time to hear what I want to bring this morning. This is the first time I've ever been to a council meeting, and it's really great just to hear the interest and enthusiasm and everything that's going on and all the events that you're going out to and everything. It's great, so thank you. Essentially, I have an extensive arts background, and I really also have an extensive interest in community, so I'd like to merge these two things together. My arts background, I have a Master in Fine Arts, and I'm an art therapist working predominantly with children. And I also have an art studio, and I'm trained as a high school arts teacher. So I have this background with arts and children. And I am aware of a couple events that are going on. One is an event that happens globally, International Peace Day, September 21st. And I'd like to tie in this arts project with that event. Really key noting that local peace and unity and this idea of loving our neighbor and celebrating our diversity and our unity is part of a local and global piece. So it doesn't matter how small the town or community, it's really part of a much bigger picture. There's another event that's coming up in May 22nd through Grey Bruce, and it's held in Owen Sound, and they're on their 5th annual One World Diversity Festival. And it's also geared for children, but it's also the whole community. So they take a whole day and they celebrate through the arts. And I thought it would be really fantastic if West Grey were to be able to get involved in some way. Maybe not directly related with what's happening in Owen Sound, but creating something out of our own selves. So the idea is to have the 3 elementary schools working together, and each student, maybe just in the upper grades, but each student creating a tile. And they would have an assembly or a teaching note around the concept of each tile being around peace and unity and love. And I practiced with my 9-year-old daughter, and within, they don't really need much direction. It's really available and accessible to children. So within a few minutes, she created a beautiful tile with hands together and love and a heart, and it was just really sweet and lovely. So working with students, having them each create a tile that then fit into a large mural or a mosaic that has an overriding color theme, so there is unity to it. But there's individuality within that. So what I'm here for is I've spoken to the schools, and it's, everyone, it's a great idea, and the schools are enthusiastic and the children are enthusiastic. So the art part isn't why I'm here for. I'm here because I want to, one, make it an event where people are coming out either on a day that's coming out of West Grey, like we can make our own day around it, or we link it in with a larger event like International Peace Day. And that there's a place where people can come and speak, and students can speak on the subject of peace and unity. And also that it can be part of bringing an aesthetic sensibility and pride and culture, just continuing with that happening in Durham. So that's what I'm proposing. I put in my proposal a possible location, which could be by the conservation or in some area by the conservation. I think it would be amazing if it was something that was visually accessible as people were driving through Durham, like either on Garifraxa or on 4, that it's really noted as a place where this is something that West Grey cares about, and this is something that the town of Durham cares about, and we're coming together with our children around this idea. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know. I'm not sure what the format is exactly. If there's questions or, yeah.
Well, certainly, I think that you've probably brought forth some questions, so
Okay.
be prepared. Here they come.
Okay, I'm ready.
Carol.
Thank you. That's quite a concept. That's a great learning for the kids, I think, and starting them off right in life. I just wondered, you mentioned 3 schools. Which 3 were you meaning?
Yeah, so St. Peter, St. Paul, and Spruce Ridge, and also Edge Hill School.
Okay, there's also New Tribes. They have their own academy.
Okay, great.
And there's also the Normanby Elementary School, which is part of West Grey. That's
Okay.
in Eaton. So it's
Then-
just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, perfect. It could be, the more schools, really, the better, to be honest.
And just at the bottom, you mentioned an annual event where the town of Durham, I think it really would be the whole of West Grey, not just Durham.
Okay.
But the whole of West Grey. And another area that might be a good place would be the Legion Memorial Grove, which is on County Road 4. It's just opposite Rock Street where it turns.
Yes.
There's a memorial grove there that's a Legion, might be a perfect place for it.
Oh, yeah, that would be
something
lovely.
to do with peace. that,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It's a great idea.
Okay, then, thanks.
Thank you.
Bev?
So these tiles are going to be mounted and installed on, like, how is that going to be accomplished, and who's going to do that and pay for it? Who's going to pay for the upkeep?
The upkeep is a very good question. In terms of the construction and the building, my intention is that there will also be some tiles on the bottom that corporate sponsors can have their name or some part of addressing themselves within the mural at the bottom, and to be able to have it supported that way.
Because if the tiles are breakable, which I would
Yeah.
assume they are, they're going to need some sort of covering, like a plexiglass or something to stop people from picking up a rock and throwing it at it, which could well happen. And, you're going to have to kind of think that through, because if you get a couple of broken tiles and
Yeah.
you've got high maintenance to get them off, like
Right.
a little bit more long-term
Sure.
thinking as far as being exposed
Yep.
to the sun, the wind, the rains, all that kind of stuff. So as long as that's
Well,
done.
sorry.
And
yeah.
I was just going to say that if you're planning on doing that, I would suggest that maybe once you have sort of a proposal of maintenance and construction and maybe some spots that you would like, that you bring that forward to the Parks Committee.
Okay.
And I can give you the name, and
Thank
you
you.
can present that, because it's a parks. If you want it installed in a park,
Yes.
then that would have to come through the Parks Committee.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doug?
Yeah, I think the idea is good, and I do believe that the idea of peace and going along with the Legion Memorial Park might be a more appropriate spot, because also I wonder about the construction of what this thing is going to look like in terms of where it's going to be placed.
Yeah.
So, again, up the upper dam, you don't want to obstruct any view, because
True.
a lot of people go there just for the beauty of the dam.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to take into consider when we look at a spot. And then the other thing is the construction and the upkeep of how it's going to be maintained and how it's going to stand for the weather.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Mellor, I think what I'm gathering by the conversation or the questions that have come forward to you, they were in a positive note. That's the way I'm interpreting of continuing on. I
Great.
understand I'm not much of an artist, so don't ask me to make a tile. And if you can create me into being an artist, then you are outstanding. That I haven't decided yet. But it's in a concept idea of where you're at now, so
Yes.
I think working with the municipality certainly has some interest.
Great.
Council has the interest in working with you and trying to find a location. And as Bev had said, some of the foregoing
Longevity.
costs and longevity of it.
Absolutely.
The town of Durham, I'm looking to Carol or Rob, 30 years ago did a mural program. So 20 years ago. 20 years ago was embarked on the murals, the one right on Lambton, right at the main
Yes.
corner with Archibald Hunter. There's the one's been moved off of one of the service stations, the Durham Girls is in the arena. That was one of the ones that was created. I think there's probably 3 or 4 more around as well too. That it's the ongoing thing, that they were
Yes.
great, it was wonderful, but we've got to have a plan in place too to maintain, I think, as Bev said as well too. So
Yeah.
the concept.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate you coming forward with that, and
Thank you.
you have, I think, the confidence in this. The council will work with you going forward as we develop it further. Doug?
Yes.
Doug?
Are you working in conjunction with the art gallery, by any means, or are you independent of them?
I am independent of them, but they're the next people that I'm actually going to touch in with, and
Right.
it could be a collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whether they would have space for something like that in their, within their property boundaries, but that's another
Yeah, that's
option.
true. Okay. Thank you. I'll consider that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Look forward, as I said, to the continuation of the development of the program.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Got a clerk wants to take a couple-minute break just to do some paperwork, housekeeping. Okay. All right. We'll take a couple-minute break to fill up the coffee cups or relieve of excess coffee drank already. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And if I could indulge council, two things I forgot to mention through communications. One was at the Durham Agricultural Dinner on Friday night. Had a great evening there. I know Councillor Lawrence walked away with the grand prize, grand door prize. Congratulations, Carol. I know it was put to good use the next day. And they gave it away. The other thing is today is the liberation of 70th anniversary of the liberation of Holland was today, and on Saturday, a very local connection to that, and a former neighbor of mine, Hank Koslag, passed away. And the Koslag family was very much recognized with the Dutch resistance. Were very, very instrumental in rescuing a number of Allied, put their own lives at risk more than anybody else, I believe, in Holland. And a few years ago, Hank's family, his father especially, were recognized internationally for their part with the Dutch resistance at that point in time. So sympathies go out to the Koslag family, and recognition of that for Holland today. Okay. All right, Mark. Let's get back to any business arising from the previous meeting. Don't believe we have any. We'll go down to staff reports then. And welcome, Carrie. Director of Finance is here. And the first thing on Carrie's report is her vouchers. And we have those. Is there any questions on the voucher package? It was there. Councillor Marshall. Don? Go ahead.
Just on page 6, the funding for the airport. I thought I read that the funding for it was $34,500 a year. I see that half is over 19,000, so it's almost 20, almost 40,000 a year. Is that increased or?
Yeah, it's 50% of our municipal levy for this year, so it's up a bit from last year. I think we knew that we had, did we have that a budget, I think they had passed theirs, or was it after we were done ours?
The last I'd heard, they passed the budget, but with a 2% increase, 2% of 34,000 wouldn't be quite that much.
Last year, our actual was higher. In 2014, oh no, 33.5 was our share last year. Yeah. I can check with, I'm trying to think of the guy's name.
Rick,
Is that
Lex,
Lex,
yes.
is it now? Yeah, no,
Pageant
I can
businesses and whatnot.
contact him just to see what,
is the accountant there. If you can follow up with that, Carrie? Yep, very good. Anything else? Any other comments? Doug? Councillor Hutchison?
Page 3, under Cheryl Roberts, our canine control. I'm just wondering, do we get a report from this lady in terms of the services that she's provided? I know she tracks her mileages and whatnot, but the number of visits she has with different individuals and do we have an official report?
And I'll let Mark.
Yes, if council wishes one, I can certainly provide that to you. Yes.
But she does
Yes,
provide
she
us
has
with one?
started issuing
Okay.
reports, yes.
Okay.
So I'll do that.
Follow up, okay. Mr. Bell, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, Ken, question for you. I know that we've talked about the clarifiers at the sewage lagoon. They froze up during the cold snap and everything else. I see there's a bill in here for Collicott, but it's for $11,700. And I guess I was under the impression, whether I was right or wrong, that that was kind of a minor repair, but it's still $11,000. Was that a one-time only thing, or was there more than once?
No, that was just the one time there when, during the cold weather and I guess the flight chains were wore out and they had to replace them, plus some other stuff in there. And
Okay, so when they were wore out and with being cold weather, that's what, okay.
well, they were wore out from continuous weather. I don't think the cold weather had an impact on the flight chains, but just from wear is what. Yeah, yeah.
I think what it is, it's just been coincidental that it was cold weather and then they went as well too, so it was up for replacement. It just was at that point in time. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Doug? That microphone works better when you turn it on.
Sorry, page 10, CSS Engineering Consultants. I just wondered the driller that's been on Main Street and on the different streets drilling test holes, is that what that is for? It's different services on different areas, Bruce Street, Highway 6, under CSS Engineering Consultants. Are they the ones doing, preparing for future construction? Is that what's happening there?
Yeah, that won't be the bill for the actual work being done. That's the bill for the engineering part of it.
Right, right.
Yeah, but that's
what that's all about.
That's what that's about, Doug. Yeah.
Okay. So they actually drill a hole down to see what kind of material they're dealing with?
Exactly. Yeah.
Core sampling. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions on the vouchers? Seeing none, I do have a motion moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 8, 2015 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $317,964.45. Any questions or comments further on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good, Mark. Okay, and Carrie, your second report here is dealing with a slight amendment, more housekeeping to the budget for setting the tax rates when that comes forward at the next council meeting.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
tax rates will be at this meeting based on the same overall rate, but just amending the budget bylaw, giving notice at this meeting. And I note the 20th there, and it should actually be the 19th as the next council meeting, just to give notice of our change to amend it, but it will keep the same overall tax levy increase that you had proposed.
Any questions on that report? More of it was just allocating out to different departments when it comes to the insurance, and what it wasn't quite done at the time of the budget, but the numbers stay the same. Okay. All right. Anything else then, Carrie?
Just a reminder for timesheets for any of those who have not submitted.
Yeah. Just like to remind people, Deputy Mayor Bell, who is usually number 7 on the list, is number 1 today. Congratulations, Mr. Bell. You get a star.
There's always room for improvement, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Carrie. The next then is Public Works. And Ken, do you have anything that you want to tell us other than just it's nice to be here?
I haven't really got a report today,
No, I know.
Mayor Eccles.
Very good. Deputy CEO, Deputy Clerk, proposed road tour.
Yes, Your Worship, I was requested to come back with a couple of dates, and a couple of dates that we come up with is in June the 5th, I believe. I don't have the report right in front of me, but I believe going from memory, Friday, June the 5th, or Friday, May 29th. There's 2 prospective dates for the road tour. Based on the date chosen, we'll coordinate and have issues here, but it's anticipated it would start at 8:45 in the morning from here and take the majority of the day. So if council could pick one of those dates, much prefer Friday, June the 5th, if that's acceptable with council, due to a personal commitment on the 29th, but
What's
I
the
look to
thought of
council for
everybody?
direction.
June the 5th, fine? Well, put them onto the bus and away you go. You can show them all of West Grey. Sure. I know it doesn't work for myself either. I'm going on behalf of the county to the FCM conference in Edmonton, so I leave on Thursday, June the 4th. But as you see by some of my mileage bills, I'm up and down most of the roads in West Grey as it is. So leave it to council.
We'd also talked, although it's maybe too soon now, but we'd also talked about Friday the 8th of May. That was, like, I've got it in my book here, and because I said to Rob that was our cemetery day.
Logistically, that would be exceptionally difficult, which is why we propose these dates about a month away in order to get vehicles and arrange staff and that sort of thing.
June 12th work for you?
Council, June 12th.
Does it have to be a Friday? Can we move it to another?
The only reason we chose Fridays is Friday seems to be a day that we try to keep clear of meetings in the office here. So And most of the county meetings and our meetings are not held on Fridays, which is why we tried to look towards a Friday. But if there's a better day that works for everyone else, we can try and work it into the schedule. It's just exceptionally difficult with 7 members of council and several members of staff to try and get a date, which is why I'm looking also at a month or more away.
Go ahead, Rob.
I'm just wondering, we have I don't know if we're going to have a planning meeting on the 8th of June, that's a Monday. I'm not sure if there's a planning meeting, but what about the Monday?
Not confirmed, he said.
Yeah, that's a long way away yet, but
It really won't make much difference to me. I'm still in Edmonton that day, so. The FCM conference, yeah, Thursday to the Tuesday.
That is correct.
29th, it may work for a lot of individuals, but I'm at OAPSB, the AGM and conferences, the police conference is on. And somebody was suggesting June the 12th.
I could be there in the morning, not in the afternoon.
Western Wardens meeting is in Goderich that day.
Goodness, so you wouldn't want to miss that exciting event. Goddard hosting? Wow.
We've been in Goderich.
Monday in the calendar, if we went to planning till late in the afternoon, if there's a planning meeting. June 8th, if we took planning till, if we had it, we could make it 3 to 4.
Well, June 8th doesn't work, I'm not back.
Oh, right, sorry.
No. Social services, 11th is a no, that's planning. In June right now is about June 3rd or the 15th. We have West Grey Council on the 15th. That's a Monday.
Council at night.
Yeah. 15th works for me right now. Looking at anybody else's schedule. $15? Good?
We can try and set up for the 15th if that works for everyone's schedule, Your Worship.
Sure. Okay.
What time? Like 8 o'clock?
8 or 8:30, yeah.
We used to leave at 8.
Mm-hmm. We'll be traveling on the West Grey Road, so they're smooth enough. You can nap in between stops, Mr. Thompson. Okay. Can we? So we got the 15th down.
You wanted to start at 8 o'clock in the morning when we have a council meeting that evening?
Yep.
Okay.
A little bit nap in between.
I'll hold you to that, Bev. Okay. That's that lined up. Okay. Got that one booked. Larry, the next one is the RFP for going out for a consulting service to review, update, develop the strategic plan.
That's correct, Your Worship. I crafted this based on another plan. I kind of cherry-picked from a couple other plans that I had and put this together. I'm proposing that the closing date be May 29th, so I would need authorization to move rather quickly if that's acceptable. but that is flexible. That's just a date on paper at this point in time. Provides a table of contents for you if you've had an opportunity to read through it. It allows us the flexibility to review the plan and pick when it starts, what we would include in it. If there's any additionals for any extra meetings or whatever, it would come out at the time during the submission. It lays out things pretty succinctly, and the only other point I would like to put out at that point in time is I would just like clarification. At the bottom of page 7 of 10, I have in there a number of different strategic partners that we'd like to include in the review. Community service groups, realty and development industry, government agencies, West Grey Council, committees, County of Grey, Chamber of Commerce, and the BIA. Did I get that correct? Durham Community Healthcare Foundation? That's the local healthcare? I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. And then I was proposing that they start on or about July 15th. These dates would be flexible, but they have the report back in prior to October the 16th. Those dates are flexible. At that time, we would negotiate with whoever the successful contractor would be, but it would give us the summer months as well as September then for the public meetings and to put the plan together and to bring a report back. That seemed to be the timeline that these other two plans were permitting, about 8 weeks, if that's acceptable, is how I would put out. And I have a list of about 17 that I would send it to, as well as advertise pursuant to our advertising policy as well. So if council doesn't have any specific questions or anything they have concerns, I would respectfully just suggest that be approved, and I'd be authorized to advertise.
All right, thanks, Larry. Questions? Carol, Councillor Lawrence?
Not a question, but just on page 7 of 10, the strategic partners, the Newstead Business Association probably should be added. The Newstead Business Association should probably be added. The strategic partners on 7 of 10 at the bottom.
Yes. I specifically left the Chamber of Commerce and the BIA, so if I just added in what was going on.
The Newstead Business Association.
Okay, I left the Durham rating or anything specific.
Well, you've got, oh yeah, but they're not a BIA.
No, but if I added business association.
Oh yeah, business, yeah, you don't have to say Newstead, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions on what Larry's putting forward here? On the content of the RFP going out? Bev?
As a strategic plan, which is very much sort of the fiber of the community, how do these companies come in and understand the fiber of the community and then do a strategic plan proposal for this community from when they're from outside that community? Like, strategic planning growth is very much local. How do they do that?
It's driven local, but through interviews and through public meetings, they would then garner the local background and information that they would be required to put into a strategic plan, and then everything is brought together in their proposal and submitted for council for review, as well as public meetings as well. So there's opportunities for public input through public meetings, through interviews with specific groups and strategic partnerships, as well. There's also an opportunity for a survey to go out for people to fill out and bring that information back in. And it always relies on the input of the local members of the public, as well as committees and elected officials, to ensure that they are getting their voices heard and the direction is being provided to the consultants, so they incorporate that into the overall plan.
So would it be prudent for council to have a meeting for us to discuss what we feel like the information going forward, so that we can brainstorm and sort of have an idea as to where this community is? Certainly we've done that in years past, where we've had several meetings in January to try to develop what we feel is a strategic plan that works for the term of council. And I just feel that maybe we need a little bit of conversation around this.
Go ahead, Larry.
That was included in the package. There were meetings with the consultants and with the council as well, to start with, to get the feel from council where they wanted to go or specific areas they wanted to focus on. So when it is brought up, when they do their public sessions, that would be incorporated as well. So there is that opportunity in the plan as it's currently laid out.
Okay. Doug? No? That microphone's still working.
That's part of the process, is getting the feedback from not only council, but all our partners within West Grey. Yeah.
Process, having been through a number of these, but I'm just not sure I trust an outside company coming in to do a strategic plan when its core roots community orientated, when you're not part of that community. I'm not sure I trust the process.
So I take it then, when we get these RFPs and we look at them, are you going to trust a company that may be right here from West Grey or locally as well too?
If they're local, yes.
You would put more emphasis on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I would put more emphasis on a company that was part of the fabric of what we're trying to do a strategic plan for, yes.
And let's wait until we get them back in and we'll have that.
Are you asking me to be patient, Mr. Mayor?
I'm suggesting, never
Okay.
ask. Carol?
Well, Mr. Mayor, the list could go on and on, I understand, of the strategic partners, but I'm wondering about churches and New Tribes Mission. New Tribes is a very big part of this community, and they've helped out many times, and they, they've been here a long time, and they include a school, and it's a community there. I just somehow wondered if, I don't find churches or New Tribes would fall into any of these various community and service groups. It's just I mean, it's...
And I think you're right in, how much do we put down on the paper? Because once you get down to churches, then you get down to, recreational groups, you get down to...
No, pretty much everything else is covered here. Larry's got a good list. But I just don't see anywhere that I'm saying like churches and New Tribes would fit in there. Maybe religious groups? Religion or something?
Well, we're supposed to stay away from that according to the Supreme Court decision the other day, so we won't get into saying a prayer there for having that included.
We are still a Christian country and a Christian community. We are, like it or not, we're Christian.
Yes,
so.
Let's stick with who we're going to incorporate here. Doug?
Mr. Mayor, I think it's self-explanatory here that it says strategy partners include but are not limited to the following, and then the first one is various community and service groups, culture, heritage, athletics, seniors, youth, etc. So I don't think we have to list everything. That's their job, is to go out and if they have public meetings, then people are going to come to them. If they want to do a presentation, they're going to come forward, I think. So I think that's part of their job, is to get to all those people and be a third party, unbiased coming in. I think it's very important to use someone like that. That's my opinion.
Okay. Go ahead, Carol.
It's all well and good, but unless somebody tells them, or we tell them, or Larry tells them, they may not know of something like New Tribes, because they're not from here, probably not from here. These doesn't hurt to ask, though, Doug. It doesn't, instead of being inclusive and going out, the road runs both ways, so.
But would that be one way of, when we start out, as Bevis said, having counsel, strategic, and you would certainly be able to give them at that point in time of where we, specifically want to drill down to? This is the advertising.
I would really agree with that, Mr. Mayor, because, I mean, it is council-driven. And I would like to see council as a whole, and Larry, meet with whomever we choose, and they could go over with us what they're proposing to do, and we may have other suggestions. And then when it's finished, like at some point in time, I don't want an outside consulting firm just laying it down and we accept it. We've got to have some kind of input or approval or acceptance or something, because we have to live by it for 4 years. So I
Yep.
think there needs to be more than us just meeting with them. There's got, like, as one of the groups here, I think there has to be more communication back and forth.
But what we're looking for is a consultant to come in to bring that information, basically to put the information from this community down on paper, using their expertise to have it on a piece, on paper, not develop it, but to take the content that we're driving to them and put that into the paper itself. That's what I see them. It's not them giving the ideas strategically where we should go. They're taking our thoughts, our input, and that's their expertise that we're looking for, not somebody that's strategically thinking for us, but just bringing it together. And hope. Yep. Very good. Okay. I do have a motion. I'm going to introduce that. And we can, if there's any other discussion. I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the RFP for consulting services to develop a strategic plan as amended, and further that the CEO Deputy Clerk be authorized to advertise the opportunity as per policy with a closing date of May 29th, 2015. And May 29th is the Friday? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Anything else, Larry?
Yes, Your Worship, I was requested at the meeting last week to look into a risk assessment and review of the building we currently have in Elmwood. I'm currently working on getting that out and hoping to have 3 quotes back to council for the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, any questions for Larry? All right. Any questions why the mayor dropped the clerk down, dropped over his and went right to the deputy clerk's CEOs? Sorry about that. I missed Mark there on that one. Mark, your report. Clerk's report is there. The first one is on the Durham Girls Alumni Band. I guess that's why I kind of questioned that, Mark. Here we've got Saturday, May 29th, so I think those dates you have in there are slightly off. But anyways, Carol.
I have to take the blame for that. I wrote the dates out for my daughter, and she sent the letter, and I'm afraid I put those dates. It's actually Friday, May the 29th, and Saturday, May the 30th. Sorry about that. Looked at the wrong month when I gave her the dates.
Okay. Any other discussion? Sorry, any other discussion on the request? Doug?
We charge all of our organizations to use our facilities, so there should be something there, shouldn't it?
We don't charge all of our organizations. We don't charge our recreation committees. And as I explained at the last meeting when I brought this forward, the Durham Girls are affiliated with West Grey through West Grey's ownership of the instruments. And when they have a fundraising and they buy more instruments, and as I said, should the band fold, those instruments that the girls have bought will become the property of West Grey. So it's a little bit different than some other.
But I'm thinking our Durham firefighters were charged for putting on a breakfast for our Fresno Fest, and they're part associated with West Grey. So, and that's always been a bone of contention for some of our organizations, is that, you know, our Lions clubs, some of our different organizations that volunteer to do things, and then they have to pay to use our facilities. So, I mean, I know it's a tough question, and it's one that's been out there in the past, but I just think that either we charge everybody or we don't charge everybody. And how
Are
do
you
we decide?
suggesting we charge our recreation committees that are fundraising specifically for West Gray?
Well, I don't know, they're using the facilities, I didn't know that they weren't paying.
But they're raising money to do work on West Gray buildings, things that are owned by West Gray.
I know, but you can look at a lot of the organizations out there that are raising funds, you know, like the Lions, like the, like I said, the firefighters are doing a breakfast to raise money for, like it's, yeah, equipment. It's just, there's a lot of organizations, so I just think if we're gonna charge one, we have to charge all. And that's the way it's been in the past, it seems like.
And what would you charge for the use of a yard, an outside yard, as opposed to a
Well-
building? There's no hydro, there's no water, there's no nothing.
Right, but then we are still covered for, you know, liability and things like that. I don't know what the rate has been in the past, but I'm just saying it should be the same.
We haven't had a rate for using a yard,
Yeah,
and there's no extra liability.
well, that's just, I'm just asking the question.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Mark. There was a question about liability, and Mark, maybe you...
I think I would venture to say that there's always potential liability when the municipality allows groups to use the facilities. If there's any incidents, there is certainly potential for liability, so I think that has to be quite clear.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, meaning
Go
there was
ahead.
no extra charge for insurance for liability when I made the comment? Unless, of course, there's an incident.
Okay, well, we'll probably have to look at that if we go any further with this. What's the... We have a motion. You want somebody to introduce that, Mark? Send it that way. Go ahead, Rob.
Are they going to stick to the outdoor in the yard or inside the building?
Prefer the outdoor,
Yeah, outside in the yard, and not overshot, that,
not in the building, no.
not in the building, but there's that overshot on the side of the
Yeah.
building that the
Yeah,
wind
that
turbine
goes-
people had used, yeah.
Same as the wind people?
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
And what did we charge them?
nothing.
Okay.
Bev?
Has there been any contact with Bev Burgess about the market down there? Because that would be the same day it could be incorporated if she's talking about that, or has she not done anything, or it's kind of died, or?
Other than that phone call that I advised council of a week ago Friday at 2 p.m., I have not heard anything additionally from Ms. Burgess.
Okay, any other discussion on this? All right, I introduce the motion. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Gray hereby approves the request from the Durham Girls Alumni Band to use the former Rona building at no cost, either inside or outside, to hold a fundraising yard sale on Friday, May 29th from 3 to 8 and Saturday, May 30th, 8 to 4. Any further discussion on the motion? Don, Councilor Marshall.
I would say if it's going to be just outside, then the words inside should be taken out of that motion. That's the consensus of what the discussion I was hearing here, that it's going to be only outside.
And I think, from what I, limited knowledge on it, from what I'm understanding, the inside would be just the overshot, not the inside of
It's not
the
the inside of the
Rona
like
building?
that. Yeah, where the wind people had their, yeah.
Yeah.
That way, if it rains, you're back out of the,
So it really, is the mover and seconder fine with Councilor Marshall's friendly amendment of taking the inside out?
Taking the
inside
outside in,
out?
you mean?
Or the outside in? At no cost Outside. Outside only? All right. Any further questions or comments? Doug? Is that Mike?
Curious if we say that we're not charging because this organization is part of our municipality, why was the wind organization given this facility at no cost?
I know we
I
had a
think
lot
we have
of
to be
discussion
careful.
around it, Bev.
I think
Better
probably
memory?
because the amount of time and money and effort that went into this entire thing over the last 5 years, when the community group stepped up and became involved and were doing the ERT and a number of other things, we felt it was a community project that we would support as far as giving them the project, also, or the venue, but also the fact that at that point, it was, except the storage buildings, it was really not being used, and we thought it would be a good, you know, a good use of the building, just like the markets, et cetera, have been a great use of the building. So, yeah, it was basically just to support their efforts as well as a community effort, so. And it was outside, again, and it was just, the building was not open.
I just think we have to be careful and that we're not setting a precedent that, you know, we're picking and choosing what organizations are going to use our facilities for free. So I think we have to be careful on that.
Very good. Carol?
Well, I want to say, too, that we were also a participant in the ERT hearing. We were supporting them in that. I mean, we are unwilling hosts for wind turbines. So we were a participant in the ERT. They had thousands of dollars of costs, and I think, as somebody said, they didn't go inside the building. It was just outside in the yard.
Rob?
Yeah, just quick. They're not using any utilities, nor did the wind turbine group any utilities, so there's no really expense to this, and it's helping out different groups.
Allowing something like the Herb Fair to set up in our park. Right. Really, you know, it's nothing, no different.
Yep. Don?
I'm going to support this, and I think we are setting a precedence that if a group comes in next month and wants to use that for a yard sale, whether it be a private family or a couple of families getting together, or for a group, that we cannot turn them down. So.
Point. Carol?
Well, I kind of agree with what Councillor Marshall's saying. The only thing is, I believe it's not just a broad stroke. It would be case by case. You know, there might be some things people are trying to raise money for that perhaps aren't in the best interest of everyone or something. I can't just think of anything. So I would say on a case by case, but I have to agree, like, there's no cost, there's no cleanup, there's no supervision, there's no utilities. If we can help different groups that way, well, until we have a use for that building and the land, and I kind of agree with what he's saying.
Okay. Further. Mr. Bell?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to vote no on this, just for the simple sake, I think we are setting a precedent, and I think there's going to be all kinds of requests going on there, whether for community items or not, but I'm going to vote no here. I think there should be a $100 a day charge for the use of this facility. We have a lot of costs constantly going around, and we all know what the budget took to get this done, but I don't see there anything wrong with a $100 a day charge.
Okay. Any further comments?
Ask for a recorded vote, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Bell?
No.
Councillor Cutting?
Yes.
Mayor Eccles?
No.
Councillor Hutchison? No. Councillor Lawrence?
Yes.
Councillor Marshall?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
one there, Rob. Mark, next one is the Conservation Authority has sent out a request, I think to inform council of that at the Committee of the Whole, that it'll be coming forward. Saugeen Valley looking for the municipality's comment on their zoning comments, or providing comments on our zoning bylaws. Mark?
Yeah, I would say municipal staff, including our municipal planner, are quite capable in interpreting our own zoning bylaw, so I would recommend that council pass a motion for the authority to discontinue providing zoning comments in that regard.
Any comments? Any comments on that, the request? I guess the only thing is I could say from the Conservation Authority representative, Conservation is doing, the board is doing a lot of work trying to develop a more clear and open working relationship with the municipalities around this planning part of it. There was a announcement, I believe it was on Friday, there was a press release came out on the mapping and the mapping of the hazard area and what's the word I'm looking for, Mark? The screening area, because there's somewhere between 30 buffer screening between 30 to 50 meters as those areas move slightly over the years, so they put in a buffer area. But that mapping is now available on both Grey County and Bruce County's website. So anybody can go on there. It's very clear. If you're inside that screening area, you'll need to get comments from the conservation. Before, without the mapping, it was up to everybody's interpretation of whether you were going to find it or not. And now that the mapping is there, that's very clear, and this is one of the other aspects coming out, being very clear where the Conservation Authority needs to be, staff need to be working. They're looking very strongly at that to be able to help them streamline the process for developers in the community at large. And I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby directs the clerk to inform Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority to discontinue providing zoning comments in the SVCA permit and general inquiry letters. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Mark, you can also inform him it was unanimously endorsed by council. See how that one works. Okay. Anything else, Mark? That's it. Any questions for Mark? Before we send him home, he's not feeling 100%, so we'll move along here. Okay, I believe that brings us down to bylaws. If I'm not mistaken, Mark. And we do have a couple of bylaws today, so we will hand those motions out for endorsement. 4 bylaws on the docket today.
Speak to this one.
Okay. Yep. Okay, I have the first bylaw, is bylaw number 24. Was one that Carrie spoke to in her report, was doing the estimates for the sums and the tax rates. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be resolved that bylaw number 24, 2015, being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the estimates of all sums required during the year to strike the tax rates and to provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof for the year 2015. Be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this bylaw? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Number 25, bylaw 25, is bylaw to set water and sewer rates for our two municipal systems, Newstead and Durham. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 25, 2015, being a bylaw to regulate the distribution and use of water and the use of sewer system, fixed prices and times of payment, establish and impose water and sewage rates and times for payment, and to require mandatory connections to municipal water and sanitary sewage works for Newstead and Durham. Be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this one? Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
I have to be honest, I didn't go through this, I guess, as well as I did, but is this the one that's going to speak to a charge from the second time on for frozen pipes? Or is that a
No.
separate fees bylaw that we're going to deal with?
That would be the separate fees bylaw. This one's just
This
setting
is-
the rates for water and sewage.
Okay,
Yeah.
when are we dealing with that then?
I'm hopeful that Ken will have that coming forward in the next while or so. Oh, sorry. Yes, I was thinking, well, yeah, did catch that one. Very good, Don.
All right, thank you.
It is there.
I didn't see it in there, but thanks.
And I guess I was looking forward that it'll have to come, that'll be one that'll be put into our fees. Yeah, we'll have to amend our fees bylaw, or, yeah, fees and charges. So we'll come forward on that under this bylaw. Any other questions or comments? One comment I will have, I think there was a letter to the editor someplace in the last couple of weeks anticipating this coming forward. Yes, this does raise our water rates up, but the sewage rates were dropping in Durham. Newstead doesn't, it's not quite as affected by the change in the rates. Yes, the users will see a increase, but we're still one of the lower rates. The system is run very efficiently and effectively, and we haven't had one of these increases brought forward. It's been recommended by our engineers 3 or 4 times, and we've been able to avoid that, but the inevitable is here that it is on a year-to-year basis costing us more to run the system. Don?
Do we know, going forward 5 years and looking at the water tower and Garifrax dug up in Bruce Street maybe, and all the other unforeseeable incidents we have, if the capital charge is going to keep up? The capital charge can keep up with that? Just these little items you see them?
Larry, do you have an opinion? I have one, but
Yes, if you recall, there was a greater charge that was proposed by council. Council chose to go this route. We are aware that there are additional costs coming down the pipe for, sorry, that's probably the wrong terminology, that was a euphemism, but there are additional costs which will be attributable to the water and sewer system, which will need to be taken into account going forward. So this was the direction that council instructed staff to go. That's why this bylaw is in front of you. So in answer to your question, we are aware of those additional costs, but this is the direction that council gave us.
okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Call the question, and all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Bylaw number 26. Mark, before we have that one introduced, you were wanting to make comment on this one?
After the conclusion of the closed session, I did receive an email from our municipal solicitor, Ed Velboom, and he suggested an amendment to the proposed bylaw. So to read section 1, where it ends, attached to Schedule A to this bylaw, he's requested that the phrase, upon receipt of signed agreements, required security, and insurance certificate from East Durham Wind LP. So he just wanted that clause added to ensure that is provided, and it isn't signed until that is received from East Durham Wind. So the agreement would be forwarded to East Durham Wind for signing purposes, and then after receipt of the securities and the insurance certificate, then the mayor and CAO would sign.
Where was that in here? What's on the news?
Be on the new front page.
Right on the front?
Yeah,
Oh, I see. Okay.
so the new copy, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There are copies.
We have other copies available. But with that little bit of an amendment, I think it's more just of a housekeeping, that the proponent sign the agreement and supply the securities before the municipality enters into the agreement. Carol?
Just to be clear then, by passing this, we are authorizing yourself and the CAO to sign it, but only upon receipt of these things that are asking for.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's,
Thank you.
All the requirements are in place from the proponent before we sign it. Okay. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 26, 2015, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and East Durham Wind LP respecting the installation and/or affixing of infrastructure on the Glenelg Centre Bridge, bridge number 43, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any further comments? Carol?
My copy doesn't say number 43, just says known as Glenelg Centre Bridge. Is that on that new one?
I think that Mark in the motion has just added, that was in brackets in here, just to give it the
Okay.
description of it. Yeah. Okay. Because as Councillor Cutting brought forward today, there's two Glenelg Centre bridges there, but one is recognized in the county system as that. The one closer to Bev's house on 23 is still remained with the county as their bridge, and this one would be the West Grey Bridge. Yeah. Okay. Bev?
Can I just make a comment about this as opposed to a question? I know you've asked her questions.
Go ahead, please.
I just think because we're being televised here that it should be noted that the council has decided to allow the structure, the wiring, et cetera, to be put on the bridge because of the fact that the other way to do it was directional drilling or boring, and that was not allowed. That was not possible with the rock formation. The other way was to put up poles and suspend the wiring across the river. And council felt that because of the historic church and the landscape in that area and how beautiful it is, that the poles and the wires would be just as ugly as the wind turbines are going to be. So we felt that it would be better to minimize that bad look and have it put underneath the bridge. So it was not council caving, it was council's direct choice to keep that area as aesthetically pleasing as possible by not having poles and wires.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions, comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Hopefully, the proponent will find this very reasonable, the agreement that we have going forward to them. We will work with them on this agreement without going to court. Moved, next bylaw is number 27. Just to confirm the proceedings for today, I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 27, 2015, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 4th, 2015 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. New business. Mark, what do you got for us?
I received a letter from an individual called Dave Beard. He apparently lived in Mississauga, has moved to Priceville, and has expressed an interest in being on the Glenelg Hall Committee. He did speak to Mr. Bill Timmons, who sort of spearheads that, and Mr. Timmons referred him to me. So if council would support his appointment, they could entertain a direct motion to that effect.
Dave Beard.
That's the thing.
But Mr. Timmons, I take it, recommended that you speak to us? Bill, Doug, Mike.
Do we need more people on that board, considering we're looking at making some changes at that hall?
Mayor, can I just correct Councillor Hutchison? We haven't decided we're going to make changes. That's all coming as part of the service review.
Which is a year away.
And so, you know, I noticed that you were quoted on something else about closing a library, but this council hasn't decided anything like that. So as far as the Glenelg Hall, that is continuing until we have that service review at least, and then the outcome of that will tell us. So, Mr. Mayor, I would move that person be added to the Glenelg Hall Committee, because certainly if you have somebody enthusiastic and wanting to help, and so future, then we should add them.
Or maybe we should wait until we do the service review and then we make a new board.
No, I believe we should do it now, and then we'll
Okay.
make our decision after the service review.
It will require a two-thirds majority.
We have, this would be moved as a direct motion, so we'll wait until we get down to that, but introduced, and I take it, Carol, you'll want to introduce that as a direct motion, so we'll wait until we get to that point. Any other new business? Bev?
My husband asked me to ask if it was possible. He was down at Moffat's Hole last night fishing in the evening, and he said that down there, because they're now fishing down there, there are no garbage cans, and the place is a mess. There's broken beer bottles, there is pop cans, there is garbage littered there, which is disgusting. When people go down, they should be able to take it out, but maybe we need to supply a couple of garbage cans along the water. I know they'll probably end up in the river. We'll have to stake them down or chain them to a post or a tree or something, but if that could possibly be considered by Public Works and emptied, put on the route to empty by Steve maybe or somebody. It's not a park, so I can't take it there, but certainly a couple of garbage cans down there would probably help at least keep the garbage and the broken glass out of there.
Your worship, just for clarification, that was Moffat's Hole. People would know where that is. Moffat's Hole, is that what you called it?
Yeah, just tell anybody Moffat's Hole, they'll know exactly where it is, Larry.
Down behind B Diamond,
Thank you.
the ball diamond. Take that up with, you know, I mean, it's in by the ball diamonds there type of thing, maybe between Randy and Steve. Can address that. Thanks. Bev? Carol?
Oh, I was just going to say it is in Durham, behind the arena, like maybe. I do have something else for new business, so if you're done with that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there's beer balls and so on, then maybe the police should be notified, and they can keep an eye on that, because it is illegal to drink in that, anywhere outside the area, so they should be maybe aware of what's going on down in there too.
Okay. Yeah, it could be a fundraiser for somebody if they wanted to.
They were broken.
The whole ones,
Otherwise,
not
they
the
would've
broken ones.
brought them home.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got that one addressed. We'll look further into that. Carol, other new business?
Just, yes, I spoke to Larry earlier, but in inquiring whether we could put a notice on the Elmwood Library that the municipality is having an engineer, or whatever the proper word is, had a request from a couple of people there, just so the people there are aware of what's happening. All they know is that there's a notice on the door saying that the services have been discontinued or ceased. So just ask that, would it be possible to put a notice there? And Larry felt, yes, it was possible, because he's been directed by council to have someone look at that. So if we could just put a notice on the inside of the door, so people are aware that the building's being looked at. Nothing, not mentioning library services whatsoever, but that the building is being looked at.
Okay. Further comment, Rob?
Yeah, on Friday night, I had a call from Bob Widmeyer, and I asked him to call Larry this morning at 8:30. So the citizens group in that area are quite aware of what we're doing, and they've also have a large group of volunteers that are willing to work on that building. So whenever things are rolling, they're there to help. So they are aware that we are looking into that.
It was Vera Beckenhauer that asked me. That's quite involved out there, just so the people are informed.
Yep, okay. And we may have, working with other communities, have been in contact, or contacted by a couple of the other mayors surrounding the area, offering access to their libraries for a short period of time. So I haven't been able to follow up. That was just on the weekend, so I'll follow up with staff on what we may need to mitigate the issues caused by the library board refusing to operate out of that building. Okay. All right. No other new business. Addendums. Notice of motions, Mark. We do have a direct motion. The Councillor Lawrence wants to introduce. I'll need a 2/3 majority of council in favor of introducing a direct motion. So all in favor of introducing the direct motion? Any opposed? That's carried. We do have the 2/3, yes? Some of them don't need. Okay, I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby appoints Dave Beard to the Gunnell Hall Committee. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Traditionally, that's been a committee of 5, and I think that puts them up to being 5 now, Mark? Because Franklin Jackson was on there for a number of years, and Franklin has passed away, and I don't think we appointed anybody else since. I don't believe that's it for notice of motion or direct motions, Mark. Closed session, we have no reason for that. Question period. At this point, We have 2 minutes for any question on anything that was on the agenda or discussed in the agenda today. Gone. Municipal Act notices, Mark. Carrie made that motion for the May 19th, and I think we have in there May 20th, but it is the May 19th is when council is. Usually it's on the Wednesday, but I'm just not sure after a long weekend, but this time we've gone to Tuesday for that meeting. So it is May the 19th, giving notice for the budget bylaw to be approved. Okay? That's it. I'll need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hutchison has motion 20. I accept we stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Mark, you're 2 minutes off 11:55. Good work.
Try to do better.
Yes, we look for better. Okay.